Hello and welcome to the famous Nürburgring Nordschleife. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Simon Patterson. I'm normally the race's MotoGP correspondent, but somehow, through reasons I don't quite understand myself, I've found myself here for some endurance racing with four wheels this weekend. Mainly thanks to a good friend, Eddie, who's the circuit commentator here at the Nürburgring. I'm here for qualifying weekend for the Nürburgring 24-hour, where obviously the race has been covering for quite a few years on our YouTube channel and through our various platforms, but where this year there's a little bit more attention than usual because we've got Max Verstappen here. Formula One world champion is here in qualifying for the main race in just over a month's time. I think race day is the 16th and 17th of May. So yeah, a lot more attention on the race this year than perhaps usual, especially in terms of Dutch fans. But let's be honest, this is a race that last year brought 285,000 fans here anyway. So this is a big event even without Max Verstappen on the grid this weekend or any other weekend when we come here for the race. He's already been here, of course. He was here a few weeks ago for one of the previous kind of warm-up events. He won it along with teammate Lucas Ayer, who he raced against back in his Formula 3 days, only to then be disqualified because of an error that the team made with tyre allocation, where they used one more than they were supposed to use during the race, which meant that they lost that first place. And although we've only had qualifying so far, we've already had a little bit of drama involving Verstappen and Ayer today, with him getting a 3-place grid penalty after originally qualifying in P6 and ending up a little bit further back in the grid after contact between Ayer and the 941 Porsche during qualifying that spun the Porsche out, left Ayer rather disappointedly in race control afterwards and a little bit unhappy with what happened. So it's not been without drama so far already, but as you can see behind me, let's squeeze through here. The Team Verstappen Mercedes AMG GT is all ready to go. They're a little bit further down the grid than they'd like to be, but we're all looking good to go. The car looks fantastic. I mean, Red Bull are obviously, and rather unsurprisingly, putting a little bit of budget behind this for Verstappen, and the result is going to be, when you look at especially the media coverage that's here this weekend, is going to be something special, because it's fair to say that there's a lot of eyes on this race. That, like as we said, it's already an important race. It's a big event every year, but there's a lot more eyes on it than would be normal this weekend. It feels like a really important opportunity for endurance racing, for GT racing, to have Verstappen here this weekend, and to have all of this focus on him. Just jump in the car. So you can see from around me there's media everywhere. I mean, I can't really say anything because I'm here in a media tablet whenever I'm not someone who'd normally ever be on this grid, but I'm here. But it makes sense, when you bring a driver like this, apologies, that's my motorbike racing coming out, when you bring a driver like this to the event and put this focus on him and on the event, there's going to be a lot of coverage, but it's cool. It's as someone that comes from bike racing and this background in bike racing, where sometimes you have these very prestigious endurance races. Obviously, like the Suzuki 8R is the one that everyone in motorbike racing looks at, but also this is a weekend where the Le Mans 24-hour bike race is happening in France. You occasionally get people that want to do that race, people from outside that world, people like Valentino Rossi, and it's quite funny, I've just noticed that one of Max's crew is actually wearing a Valentino Rossi helmet in the background here at the minute. When you get those people that want to do that event outside of their own comfort zone, outside of what they know, and want to do it because of that passion for racing, it's always a cool thing. So yeah, I think it's certainly no one here is too disappointed to see Verstappen and the attention that he's brought to the race this weekend. And yeah, it still feels like, as a first-timer here, as a first-timer to the Nürburgring and to the Nordschleife, it still feels like the sort of atmosphere you'd want to feel here. It doesn't feel like the F1 circus, like the MotoGP bubble, like those big events. It's still got that kind of fun endurance racing feeling that anyone who's done endurance events in the past will tell you. It feels totally different from the big, fancy, the bubble that you get everywhere else. As you might be able to tell, I am an endurance racing fan. Even though I've not done car endurance racing before, it should be coming across that I love the sport. And I'm a little bit disappointed that I'm not going to be here for the 24-hour race, but unfortunately MotoGP is in Barcelona that weekend, so I'm going to be over there instead. Verstappen isn't the only one to have landed a penalty today. The craziest story that we've heard today So Alexander Korokov in the 999 Porsche managed to get himself a penalty that I've never seen before in racing. He didn't just get disqualified from the event, they took away his race license. He got banned from the Nürburgring, lost his Nürburgring race license for going through a code 60, which is the pink flag that they use here with the 60-kilometer speed limit. He went through the code 60 earlier at 192 kilometers an hour in qualifying. So yeah, not ideal. We've just seen Max's teammate there, Lucas Sawyer, who, like I said earlier, raced against him in Formula 3, just heading down onto the grid, getting ready to go. And you know, that kind of captures what I'm trying to say a little bit, I think, about the endurance racing thing, about the atmosphere of this event. You know, you just wandered past us there. No one, I know we're on a race grid, but there's a lot of people around. No one's too concerned. You know, yeah, okay, he's racing with Max Verstappen, but you know, there's not much of that crazy F1 weekend hype here. I think it's you know, it's quite nice to see, and I'm sure that you know, as much as Verstappen is going to be quite excited to be racing here, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to him a little bit afterwards about the experience. As much as he's excited to be here and on this grid, you've got to think that he's getting a cool response as well, because I think everyone that's in the paddock and at these events, you know, there's a lot of racing outside the Premier class. If you're here with a ticket, you get into the paddock. But the paddock's not crazy. There's not these huge swarms of people around them like you'd expect. It's all very calm. Everyone is you know, thinks it's cool that he's here. A lot of the other drivers and teams that we've spoken to think that it's really cool that he's here, think that it's cool for the sport that he's here. But there's also that kind of professional respect of, you know, yeah, okay, you're here, but he's another race driver. So it's nothing, you know, everyone's seen race drivers before. It's not a huge excitement. No one's getting carried away with him being here, which is a really nice thing. Now, talking about a little bit of what else is going on in this race. So apologies in advance. I am not a specialist in sports car endurance racing, as you've probably been able to determine by this point. This isn't my subject, this isn't my area, but I know a little bit. I mean, come on, I work in motorsport. The most impressive part of this thing for me is that the grid for this weekend is 135 cars. It is absolutely colossal. Like we're almost to turn one here, like you can see, and they go all the way back to right over the hill, right to the last corner, and on what is the Grand Prix circuit here, the permanent circuit. And if you've looked at lap times for this weekend, the top guys are doing kind of 8-minute lap times in qualifying. You'll probably know that 8 minutes around this circuit is a little bit longer than usual. That's not a typical Nürburgring lap time. We saw a lot of coverage earlier this week when Ford brought their new Mustang development car here and did a 640 lap. That's a 640 lap of the normal circuit. The circuit for this weekend incorporates the Grand Prix circuit, or a bit of the Grand Prix circuit. They've had to cut a little bit of it out to use it as paddock parking for the 135 cars that are here. So the actual circuit that they're running on this weekend is something like 5 kilometers longer than the normal Nürburgring Nordschleife. It's 25 kilometers long, which is why they're able to put you know, 150 cars, as there will be for the main 24-hour race here. It's 150 cars, but there's a huge speed differential across the board. There's like a 4-minute lap time difference between P1 and P150. And what we've already seen in qualifying, and what you'll be able to see in this race once we get underway, because we're also running, if you check our YouTube channel, there's a full stream of the onboard from inside the number 3 car of Verstappen and Oyer. What you can see is some of the other cars, whenever they see Max Verstappen coming in their rearview mirror, are working very, very hard to get out of the way very quickly and make room for him. We saw that contact in qualifying earlier that resulted in the team getting penalised, and things like that are going to happen when you've got such a huge speed differential between first and last. But you know, everyone is trying to manage it as much as possible, as just the nature of this event. So one thing that has surprised me is, so there's quite a few people in the grandstands here, but it's not massive crowds. I know it's only a qualifying event, and they're expecting it to be much bigger, much more exciting for the main event. But you know, it's still quite quiet this weekend, considering what we've got, which is essentially 2 4-hour races. So there's one tonight, one kicking off now very shortly, and then another one tomorrow lunchtime. But the one tonight this one now is probably the most important of the entire weekend for Verstappen, simply because while he's a vastly experienced car driver and has done, everything he has done, one thing he's not really done is race much in the dark. So this tonight is going to be his first chance to get behind the wheel in the dark. I would expect that he's probably going to be the last, or he's going to be the guy that finishes the race for the team because of that. He's going to get a chance to look at how his lights are set up, how his mirrors are set up, how the rear-facing camera is set up and what he can see from it, to get a feel for how it is to overtake in the dark. We know that all the guys, as you can see, they've all got 115 LED number boards in the front of the car. The different classes have different colours. The reason for that is so that the slower guys can see the faster guys coming. They know what sort of car is approaching from behind them. But how they react, what happens there, that's all things that Verstappen is going to have to learn to anticipate tonight, and things that he's going to have to manage as we go racing in the dark for the very first time. The other factor that he has in his mind as well that's going to be a bit of an issue here is this weather. So it's been beautiful all day, and just as we're starting to firm up in the grid, it's got suddenly very cloudy. The weather forecast is saying that there's like a 60-70% chance that we're going to get some rain before the end of this race. So we now have to basically figure out what happens next. Is he going to have to do this in the dark as well as doing it in the rain? Is it going to be dry the whole way through? There's a lot of things to answer for Max Verstappen tonight. It's certainly going to be a challenge. Curious to see how it goes for him. Curious to see how the race pans out. And I think if qualifying is anything to go by, we should have some pretty good action. So, as one of our officers just in my ear to remind me, of course Verstappen has raced in the dark before. He's raced in places like Singapore in F1, he's raced in places like Qatar where MotoGP also races, somewhere I'm very familiar with. It doesn't compare. In any world, it doesn't compare to what we're about to see tonight. So whenever you go to a circuit like Qatar, where there's this amazing floodlight system that's designed to make sure that the full track is fully lit, that the full track is basically shadow free for these guys, which is an old feature of the MotoGP development, because there was a worry at the big concern that a shadow passing below them would essentially make them think that they were going to crash or someone was undertaking them. So there's a very specific, very expensive floodlight system at all those circuits to fully illuminate it. And while it's driving in the dark, it's not really. It's driving in daylight, essentially. It's like driving down a really well-lit street with street lights above you at night. Here, for huge sections of this course, the only lights that they're going to have is the lights in the front of the car, nothing else. So you are, it then becomes that kind of driving down the motorway in the dark with no other cars around trying to overtake people, and that's a totally different sensation. So it's things to learn for Verstappen. It's something for him to work on. It's really cool that the format for this race, I think, means that you get this opportunity, these previous races, to kind of ease into it and learn the way to do things. It's certainly a different dynamic from other events. And it's probably quite useful for Verstappen, who, although he's someone who has spent probably days at this point doing laps of this place in the simulator, and I'd imagine has done quite a few laps at night in the simulator. We know in the past that he's done the virtual 24-hour race here and things like that. So he knows the layout of the course, he knows his way around. In theory, he knows what it's like. But if there's one thing that's going to be quite different, it's probably going to be, between simulation and real life, it's probably going to be driving in the dark, in the rain, with damp patches, dry patches, intermittent rain, and all the stuff that comes with it. So on that note, we're getting cleared off the grid. As you can see, we're halfway up pit lane already. We're about to start racing here. It's a 4-hour race that kicks off in about 22 minutes time. The full race coverage is going to be live on the race. You're going to be able to watch from Verstappen's car. You're going to be able to watch the world feed coverage as well. And we're going to do the whole thing again tomorrow before the second race there as well. We're going to have another look around the paddock there. We're going to see how we go, and we're going to watch some racing again. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in for an ignorant MotoGP journalist trying to talk about cars. But I mean, what's not to love? We're at the Nürburgring. Enjoy the race, everyone. Head stop.